Hi, hello, and welcome to the presentation of my digital portfolio. I will be presenting the content of my digital portfolio and its possibilities, challenges, and what I've learned and experienced so far. I chose to use Padlet as the source of my work mainly because it was new to me. At first, I wanted to use a blog, but I saw it beneficial to use a new media because of the learning experience. The first work from my digital portfolio I want to address is the tweets. Tweets are low-key texts. They are short, precise, and user-friendly. In our case, it is a modern way to write a summary or address the key point of a text and share it with our peers. Additionally, you do not need a Twitter account to write tweets. The challenges concerning Twitter is the risk of being unjustifiable when it is meant for a professional learning environment. Most of the tweets I've read are humoristic, ironic, and sarcastic. Although there are lots of factual tweets, it became less authentic to me. The reflection text on professional digital competence framework for teachers I chose to write in Google Docs. I am familiar with the method and saw the opportunity to make it easy for myself. I also love that the layout is similar to Word, which I use all the time. In my reflection text, I addressed the 3 bullet points in which I saw myself having knowledge about ethics, change and development, and interaction and communication. However, I also questioned the difference of having knowledge, having skills, and having competence. Although I have knowledge about my own use of digital medias, it does not necessarily mean that I have the skill and competence to teach my students. Gjær, Vifsud, and Bjølstad, 2017, mentioned that children and young adults, based on a study from 2014, experience unpleasant content on the internet. Furthermore, that the school needs to take partly responsibility teaching the students how to navigate the internet. My concern is that I do not have the skill or the competence to do so. Lastly, I address the issue of PFDC in teacher education. Based on my own experience, there is little to no education on professional digital competence during my teacher education. I got an education in Norwegian, English, and physical education. English was the only subject where professional digital competence was present. As long as one knows how to share the Google Docs link on Padlet, I see no challenges with online writing tools. One of the great advantages is that it is very accessible to everyone with access to the link. However, I learned that using Trondheim Kommune Gmail does not allow you to share anything online, sadly. Creating a digital story was probably the most fun requirement so far for this subject. My working process started with choosing an angle. I went backpacking with a friend around the world for 4 months, and on the trip we randomly attended both a wedding and a scattering ceremony during the same weekend. I started writing the script. I'm a huge fan of poems, love writing poems, and play with words. It was therefore very natural for me to tell the story through a poem. One can discuss that writing a poem instead of a script requires more work, but by doing something you love, it might require less. Unfortunately, I could not find pictures from the scattering ceremony, only the wedding. My choice was then to use pictures that I had taken from the same location rather than finding a picture of a scattering ceremony on the internet to ensure authenticity. Digital storytelling is fun and different. A huge benefit is that students who dread presentations are given the opportunity to present a story through video. They must pre-read their script. All they need to do is press play on the day of presentation. I used iMovie for this project, and although it is fairly user-friendly, it is time-consuming. Digital storytelling also requires structuring and planning your work carefully in order for the end project to be successful. This might be a challenge for younger students. As with PFTC, I used Google Docs when writing my thoughts on the digital storytelling project. It was beneficial to compare my own thoughts and choices with relevant literature, an idea that reflection text could give students a taste of how to write academic texts. I had never heard of Pecha Kucha presentations, giving me quite a challenge when given the task to create one. The first thing I did was to look at examples online to get an idea of how I would create my own, but I discovered it was much harder than I had expected. Reflecting on my working process, I guess there are several things I would do different a second time around. The first thing I did was to create a PowerPoint by finding pictures online and print screening my work. I then put everything in order that I saw most logical. Then I wrote the script as shown here on the picture. It was very challenging, mostly because I did not take the time to think through what I wanted to say. Additionally, that I have never held a presentation using a pre-written script before. I'm used to only using bullet points. It therefore became extremely frustrating that each slide could only last for 20 seconds and I had to have 20 slides. This task became very mechanical to me. I felt it became more about the presentation layout rather than the content. It is safe to say that for the moment, I am not a fan of Pecha Kucha.